Hello everyone, Dr. Luqman here with Excited Cats, once again bringing you another exciting cat topic, and I do sincerely hope that this video finds you all really well and excited about cats. Now in today's video we will talk about cat allergies, what they are, how do you actually develop a cat allergy, how to figure out if you actually have a cat allergy, and how to manage cat allergies. And we'll also dive into the nitty-gritty of, are there any truly hypoallergenic cat breeds or cats out there? Now, before we dive into this topic, which I'm very excited about, this is your friendly reminder to please give us a like, hit the subscribe button, and please do leave us a comment down below. So with that, let's dive into this. Now, cats are our beloved fur babies all over the world. In fact, on a global scale, they are by far the most popular pet out there today. But unfortunately, like all pets, they are not without their issues and controversies. And one of these issues for humans is that many people find that they are allergic to cats. In other words, people find that when they are near cats or near certain cats or near a certain number of cats, they develop signs associated with the respiratory system which are very annoying to deal with. Now, usually it starts with sniffles, but it quickly snowballs into sneezing, runny eyes, watery eyes, a very stuffy nose, and the inability to focus. And for some folks, the reactions can actually be really severe. This is very true for individuals who have underlying respiratory conditions, for example, asthma or any other condition that renders their respiratory system somewhat weak. This topic has gained some more traction and interest in recent years, ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, because people who were affected with COVID-19 obviously did have, some degree of compromised function of their lungs. So the issue about cats being a potential source of allergies for these individuals became, a more serious topic of discussion. So first, let's explain what actually a cat allergy is and the mechanisms of how you may develop a cat allergy. Now, cats naturally produce many different proteins all over their bodies. And these proteins have various functions which are not entirely understood as of yet. And the amount of proteins each cat produces are also different. And some of these proteins can actually end up confusing our immune system to the point where our immune system thinks that these proteins are actually harmful. And our immune system sort of puts its guard up whenever it's faced with these proteins and starts making antibodies against them. So what essentially happens is your immune system freaks out and says, okay, this thing is really bad and I need to protect myself from it. So let me prepare by producing antibodies. So the next time I encounter this thing, I'm ready. And I'm going to protect, my body from this, protein. So of interest here is that there are actually 10 such proteins found in cats that are, able to cause allergies in humans. But the one that is of most interest, and the name is somewhat boring, but it's, called feline D1, but it's also usually written as FEL, so FEL for feline, and then D1 is the name of the protein. Now, this protein is usually found heavily in a cat's saliva and some of their sebaceous glands. Now, sebaceous glands in cats are spread all over their skin, and saliva is obviously, in the cat's mouth. So how you actually get the allergy or the allergic reaction you're talking about is, let's say your immune system thinks that, this protein that is found in a cat is actually harmful. The first thing that needs to happen is your immune system needs to be exposed to this protein, because without exposure, your immune system is actually, quite naive to it. And your innate immune system, which is your default immune system, is actually not going to react to, the proteins found in cats naturally. Your adaptive immune system, which is the one that produces antibodies, is the one that's actually going to freak out, so to say, and cause an allergic reaction. So what happens is cats, as we all know, love to groom themselves. It's a natural part of their life. Many cats can spend up to 50% of their, waking time grooming themselves. And there are just many benefits to grooming, which is why cats do it. And, they are accustomed to grooming from a very young age because even, mother cats will frequently groom their kittens. It's just a part of being a cat. So it's just a cat thing that, you know, has many benefits. It's good for a cat. You'll never really get a cat to stop grooming themselves. Back to FeLD1, which is, you know, the most common protein that causes allergies in humans. So this thing is found in a cat's saliva and sebaceous glands. So when a cat licks itself all over, this protein essentially is deposited all over a cat's body and fur. And then the saliva dries up. So the protein is now inside your cat's fur and against their skin. So what's going to happen is when the cat shakes, microscopic flakes of skin will actually fly off. Now these are actually called dander, and you can't actually see them with the naked eye. And dander can remain airborne for a very, very long period of time, and it can also travel in the air, you know, from wind, etc. So there are, you know, chances that you've not actually been exposed to a cat, like you've never had, you know, a cat as a pet, but you are already exposed to cat dander that contains, you know, FeLD1. And so the first time your immune system is going to come across this protein, you're actually not going to have much of a reaction, if anything. So what's going to happen is your immune system, in most, you know, probability, will just think that, oh, this thing is kind of dangerous. I don't really like it. So what I'm going to do is, you know, make antibodies against it. The second time, though, when you encounter the same protein, your immune system is right. All right, it's go time. I'm ready. And it's going to mount an inflammatory response because it's trying to protect your respiratory system. So this leads to all the signs that you see. And because cat dander is so widespread everywhere, it is, you know, very likely that even if you don't have a cat, there is probably cat dander somewhere in your house. And the other way that FeLD1 can spread is obviously because it's in a cat's fur, you know, when they lick themselves. So if they shed fur heavily and you're near the cat's fur, there you go. You know, that's all it requires, a little trigger. So that's, you know, the basic mechanism of how, you know, feline allergies develop. And we've discussed FeLD1 because that is the most common one. But allergic proteins in cats can also be found, you know, in their urine, for example, some proteins. And there are, like I said before, you know, 10 of these. So, you know, the way you would develop an allergy to a cat might actually, you know, vary. But the main allergen of concern for most people is, in fact, FeLD1. So when most people say, I have a cat allergy, what they're actually trying to say is they're allergic to cat dander because there might be a protein there that they don't appreciate, or rather their body doesn't really appreciate. So that's what they're trying to convey when they say that. So you might be curious if you actually have a cat allergy, because the signs that are associated with cat allergies are not actually specific. So for example, you could be allergic to dust, you could be allergic to dust mites, you could be allergic to dogs, you could be allergic to pollen. Many different allergens can produce the same sort of signs in you. So how do you actually confirm if you have a cat allergy? Now, this is the point where I break cover and I actually have a cat allergy. So I will, you know, this is where I can finally share some of my limited wisdom with you guys. So the best way to confirm if you do have a cat allergy, if you have been exposed to cat dander, which most of us probably have, and if you are suspecting that you have a cat allergy, odds are you've been in contact with a cat. So the odds of you being exposed to cat dander are, you know, likely, you know, well above 99.9%, just to be politically correct, but let's just say 100%. So these tests are usually blood tests, and I can share a screenshot of my blood test as well in case you're curious. So what this does is they basically take some blood from you and they send it to a laboratory for tests, where they will see if you have developed any antibodies against very popular allergens. Now you can also do this for foods actually. So if you think you have food intolerances, you can test yourself for some foods as well. You can test yourself for other environmental allergens. So it's really worth it, I feel, because it can give you, you know, a very nice snapshot figure of what you don't like, rather what your body doesn't like or appreciate. And this is the best way to confirm whether or not you have a cat allergy. Because if you are considering getting a cat, but then you're fearful that you have an allergy, it might be worth it just to get a confirmation so you can decide, you know, okay, maybe this is not for me. Or because these blood tests also tell you the level of the allergies that you have, so how likely you are to react to the presence of the allergen. So if your allergy is, let's say, on a mild level, you could say that, okay, maybe I can, get along with this. There are some adjustments I can make which might make my life easier with my cat. But if you have, a very severe allergy level and it's not recommended at all, or if you have, underlying health issues with your respiratory system, then obviously you'd want to consider otherwise. Now, it's not unheard of that some cat owners don't even know that they have cat allergies until, later on in life. Now, this was the case with me because I've had cats my whole life. I never really thought I'd be allergic to cats. I thought I had an allergy to dust, which I do as well, but turns out I have an allergy to cats as well. So if you're like me and you have pet cats or a cat, and you figure out you're allergic to them, you might be wondering what's the best way to manage your allergies. So first thing I would do is go to your GP, your general practitioner, and get, their honest feedback, because there's no point being a martyr for some people. Like, it really is incredibly uncomfortable for some people to be around cats for even a very short period of time. So if you are one of these people, you have to be very honest with yourself. I'm sure you love cats, but then you have to decide whether it's even worth it. There are other ways you can contribute to cat welfare without actually owning a cat. You can donate to pet centers, you can help, adoption drives, you can help, spread the word about TNR, trap, neuter, release programs, etc. You don't necessarily have to own a cat if you love a cat, if you really are that allergic. And please bear in mind that for some people, the presence of cat dander or other allergens in cats can actually trigger asthmatic attacks. Now, if you are one of these people, you really should consider other options, because when we're talking about cat allergies, we automatically assume that, the signs are somewhat manageable and not as extreme to cause, a life-threatening condition such as a severe asthma attack. So the first step is, please be honest with yourself. Now, if you've decided that, your allergies are manageable and, you want to, let's say, deal with your allergies in a better way. So number one thing is actually understanding there's nothing wrong with your cat. So there's no point trying to take your cat to a vet to medicate your cat or anything. There's nothing really, that's abnormal with your cat. This is just a protein that cats naturally produce. Although some cats may naturally produce more of it, and some cats may naturally produce less of it. This is something we'll discuss shortly. There's actually nothing inherently wrong with your cat. So there's some things you have to do with your environment. And this starts with cleaning. Now, a vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter is your best friend, and I would say is a lifesaver if you do have cat allergies. And most cat dander is actually concentrated in areas that your cat frequently visits in the house. So like their bed or their favorite resting place. And cat dander attaches more readily to fabric surfaces such as couches, drapes, rugs, etc., or your sofas or cushions. So you have to focus your cleaning efforts more on these areas. So you should really focus on steam cleaning these if possible. Now, if your allergies are far too great to be near these areas, it's best to employ, professional help, like professional cleaners, or ask a friend to help you. You can use face masks. This is something I actually do when I'm, working at clinics and stuff. And I might throw up a picture of myself in a face mask just to show you, how much I cover. So just be mindful with face masks, though, that for almost any face mask you can buy at a pharmacy, yes, they are helpful, but extended use is preferred to reuse. In other words, if you do ever pull it off, you should not pull it back on. It might make things worse, because if there's something here that you're in contact with, fur in my case, because I'm holding cats at a clinic all day, then what's going to happen is when you pull it back up, you're essentially just introducing it right, into your nose. So extended use in the terms of like leave it on as long as you can, but if you take it off, it's best to just get a new one. But as we all know, face masks in a home are not really practical, but let's say if you're going somewhere, for example, a cattery, or in my case, to work, then, it's definitely recommended. Now, number 3 would be to have air filters around your house. Again, HEPA air filters are very good. Some companies even, have a part of like an advertising campaign where they say that their new filter or their certain models or brands of filters can filter out, pet dander. So do look out for those. And make sure that your filter can actually handle the square footage or the square meters or the surface area of your house or the rooms that you frequently visit. And the rooms that you really want to focus on are the rooms where you spend the most time. So this might usually be your bedroom, but if you, for example, work at home, it might be your at-home office. Or if you spend a lot of time, in your living room, then it would obviously be that room. Moving on, the next thing you can do is make cat-free zones in your house. So try to keep your bedroom or places where you frequently go, off limits to your cats. And this is just something that, your cat might not appreciate, especially if it's their favorite spot. But if your cat doesn't mind, it's actually a very good, thing for you, because you can actually come home right away and say, oh, today my allergies are just acting up. It's just not working for me. Spend some time with your cat as long as you can. Perhaps ask a friend to help out or a family member. And then, make sure you have a place where you can go that is cat-free, because it'll have less cat dander and, ideally no cat fur at all. The next trick for you is to always practice very good hygiene when you're dealing with your cats, because one of the easiest ways, and most people don't realize this, including myself, is you might touch a cat and then touch your face. Now, why humans love to touch their face, honestly, I have no idea. I do it all the time subconsciously. I know many people might be doing it as well. But if you are allergic to cats and you have pet cats, what you can do is be very mindful about washing your hands. Around 20 seconds with any, good soap will do. Make sure you wash your hands thoroughly and then dry them before trying to touch your face. You can take this a step further by even taking showers, etc., changing your clothes and all that, so that you are less likely to flare up. And finally, let's say you are not allergic to cats, but you know someone who is, and they're coming over for, let's say, a weekend or something, and you want to make life easier for them. You can try to give your cat a bath, because it will temporarily reduce the amount of allergens and proteins that are on their skin. But research has shown that usually within a period of about 2 to 3 days, these proteins return back to their normal levels. So if it's just like a weekend and someone is coming over for a weekend and they are allergic to cats, this might be really beneficial for them, because you have just a few days where they're here and your cat will be, producing less of these proteins and shedding less of these proteins, throughout their stay. Again, this is like a temporary fix, and if your cat doesn't like baths, I actually do not recommend this at all. But if your cat doesn't seem to mind being given a bath, then it is something you can consider just for like a short-term basis where you find yourself, in a circumstance where you have to accommodate someone who has a cat allergy. Now, one of the important questions is, are there any cat breeds that are, hypoallergenic? So as we discussed, FeLD1, which is the main protein of interest here, is usually found in a cat's saliva and in their sebaceous glands. And, the way it's spread is through dander, which is microscopic, it's airborne, but also through their fur when they shed. So naturally, this means that some cat breeds might be slightly hypoallergenic, but not truly hypoallergenic if they shed less. Or cat breeds that are really well maintained in your house and have excellent shiny coats and don't really shed much at all are also, good candidates. But if you have a cat, where you don't know their breed, it's a mixed breed, it's a rescued stray, and you're not sure, but you are, you suspect that, oh, I get, a really bad reaction with this cat. What you can do is groom your cat frequently. So brush your cat every day if you can tolerate being near your cat. Again, you may need to use a face mask for this. If it's just too much, if you can't handle it, that's a judgment call for you to make. But brush your cat on a daily basis or a near daily basis. Make sure you're brushing them in a very well ventilated area. You don't necessarily have to do it outside, because your cat might actually dart, especially if they don't appreciate being groomed. When they don't want to be groomed, they will just there's a chance your cat might bolt. So you don't have to be outside, just be in a very well ventilated area. Try to get a cat brush that sort of holds on to the fur. So instead of the fur flying everywhere, the brush is actually catching the fur. And then what you can usually do is, most of these products, you just turn it around, you press a button to kind of push out the fur that's collected. And then, you could wear perhaps a disposable glove or have someone help you, and then, slowly get rid of the fur. So that can actually also help. But, you know, in the context of, is there a truly hypoallergenic breed? No, there is not a truly hypoallergenic breed. But could some breeds be more hypoallergenic than others? Yes, possibly yes. And also what's interesting here is if you do plan on adopting a cat, it's actually highly recommended to spend some time with the cat in a room on your own. This room has to be clean though, so if it's been used by like, 10,000 different cats, odds are you would really not be able to tell if you are allergic to this particular cat. That is something you have to work out with whoever you plan to adopt the cat from, just to make sure the room is as clean as possible before you go into the room with the cat for a while, about 30, 40 minutes. Try to play with the cat. This also gives you a very good sense of the cat's sociability. Is the cat a very shy animal? Is the cat like, very friendly? Is the cat your type, basically? But more importantly, you can kind of gauge your personal reaction, because there are some cats that, for whatever reason, may naturally produce fewer allergens. And when you interact with those cats, if you are allergic, you actually react less often because they have fewer allergens. And this is something I personally do. So I do have some patients that I can literally cradle like this, and I give them kisses and everything, and I'm completely fine. But then there are other cats where they come through the clinic door and I'm like, watch that one. And then I have to be, extra cautious about. So that is a tip when it comes to adopting cats. And, that also helps you figure out the myth of, is there, a truly hypoallergenic cat breed? So that's it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope that you guys kind of understand cat allergies a little bit better. This was a really interesting topic for me because I really enjoyed sharing the tips on how I manage my allergies. Please remember that the first thing you have to do is, always consult your doctor. If you actually need medication, your doctor is also the one to go to. Please do not try to self-prescribe any medication to yourself, because in many cases, you may not even need it. And remember, there's nothing wrong with your cats. Your cats are just being your cats. And this is something that our immune systems, unfortunately, don't usually appreciate. So with that, Dr. Luqman signing off for this one. I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.